Welcome back to another YouTube video. So today's video is all about paste fishing. So if you watched one of my recent videos, you'd have seen me make up some paste. I was using a swim stim. It's the Dynamite swim stim betaine green. I used the ground bait to make the paste mix, which I've got here today. So we're going to carry on getting set up. I'm going to plumb the depth, show you guys how I plumb up, and then we're going to start doing some fishing, and hopefully we're going to catch a few carp. So let's get the rig. First of all, I've shown you the rigs before. Really simple. I keep it as simple as I can. So I've got a 0.19 diameter main line. I've got a paste float on. I mean, you can fish any float if I'm absolutely honest with you, but I've got a typical paste float, long bristle on it, and I've obviously got that on my 0.19 diameter main line. I have a size 10 hook tied directly to the main line. I don't have a lower hook length. Have you seen my recent videos? It's not something I do. Some people do, but I don't. I always tie my hook directly to the main line. So I've got 4 foot of water today. In terms of elastic, I've got a 13 elastic, hybrid elastic. It'd be absolutely perfect. I mean, I can catch skimmers on that. I can catch, you know, if I'm getting any smaller fish, that'd be fine, but hopefully I'll be catching some carp and it'll deal with that fine. Absolutely no problem at all. Normal pot as well. I mean, you can use any pot. There's plenty of paste pots out there, but I find one of these paste pots, normal one I would normally use for all my fishing, is absolutely perfect and more than adequate. So like I say, I've got 4 foot of water today, a little bit deeper than what I want, but I mean, I'm only fishing a top kit plus 1 section out, so not far, but it's quite deep. But it does shallow up really shallow as I get closer to me. So let's plumb up. Let me show you how I do that. So obviously put your plummet on your hook as normal. Let's just start to check the depth basically from just a top kit. So I can see I'm plumbing up there. I can see my float. My float is a good 12-18 inches out of the water. I'm just going to move it out by another 12 inches and keep moving out. As you can see, it's starting to drop off now. So there's my shelf, slight slope there. I'm just going to come back up, and there we've got 18 inches. Move out by 6 inches, another 6 inches there. Move out, so I've moved out a foot there and it dropped off. I'm now going out a little bit further. So basically I'm fishing the top kit plus 1 section. And that's where I want to be. So I've got my float there. Look, as you can see, I've got the body of the float showing. Now there's too much there. I want to get it down to the bristle about halfway, or certainly over the body of the float. So I'm just going to go out another couple of inches. So I have clearly got a slope going all the way down here. And if I just go out another, there we go, another 6 inches, and my float's starting to disappear. There we go. And we've gone out a bit further and we've just dropped about 6 inches there. So if I put the end of my second section on got my elbow at the end, I've got my far bank marker, and I'm now plumbing up. As you can see, I've got about half of the bristle showing there. Now when you're fishing, you'll find that depending on what the bottom's like, you might find, your paste might land on a small stone, and your float will just sit out of water a little bit further. And that's just the nature of paste fishing. You're never going to ever always have the perfect presentation or the same amount of bristle showing on your float, because every time you put your bait in, the bottom's uneven, right? You know, you can move 2 inches and you can all of a sudden have a 1 inch depth difference. There you go. Look, I've just come across by 12 inches, slightly different depth there. Same if I come across to my right, again it's coming up, it's coming up, it's coming up, so it's coming up. So clearly, because this where I'm fishing is directly in front of my peg, this is where the carp have made a hole. They've made a hole here. Look, they're buried away, because it's, I just come across to my right, again it just starts coming up 3-4 inches there. That's quite a lot. And the same if I go now to my left, it's going to start coming up. There you go. There, start coming up there. So a little bit further than I expected there, but right in front of me. Clearly, this is where people fish. This is where the carp are coming in. They're burying them. They're churning up the bottom, and they've made a little bit of a hole there. So that there, I've got about 1 centimetre of bristle. If I just come towards me by 1 inch, I've now got 2 centimetres of bristle. That's perfect. Like I say, that I might just keep adapting it, but I think as long as you've got about 2 centimetres of bristle showing, that is perfect. You're going to put the paste on. That's also going to anchor it down. Depending on the size of paste, the float might even lift up out of the water a little bit, because it's obviously a big piece of paste. It means the hook length is further off the bottom, where my hook right now, because I've got a plummet on, it's right on the bottom, if that makes sense. So I think the bottom line is, have about 2 centimetres of your bristle showing. If when you put your paste in and you put your rig in, and let's say the tip of the float is just under the water like that, that's okay. You can still see it. You can still carry on fishing. If you when you got your paste on and it's too far out of the water like that, well, that's going to cause a problem, because the float will then start to lie on its side. So you want to have about 2 centimetres of that bristle showing. There we go. So I'm happy that I've got the right depth there, just there. So I've got my far bank marker, and I'm going to line up every time in that position. So plumbing up, have about 2 centimetres of bristle, and then you will just need to play about with it as the session goes on. When your carp come in and they start to churn the bottom up, your depth might change. So bear that in mind. Keep checking your depth throughout the session. Okay, so we're plumbed up. We now need to kick the swim off. So I've got just under a pint of hemp, I've got my paste, and I've got my water. So obviously the tub of water is for cleaning your hands. So I'm going to put in, it's one of the smaller size potting kits, and I'm going to fill that up with hemp, and I'm just going to put in 2 little balls of paste to go with it. So this is I haven't put any feed in yet. This is what I'm going to use just to kick the swim off. So I've got my far bank marker. I'm just going to pop that in. So the hemp, the reason why I fish hemp is because I've got 4 foot of water. So I've got a lot of depth, and I need something on the bottom that's going to stay on the bottom as well. Sometimes I do fish pellets. I think, it's just down to your personal preference and the venue you're at. But more often than not, I will start off with hemp. But like I say, it depends on the venue. So I potted that in. I will show you this in a little bit while, but basically take a piece of paste about the size of 50 pence, press your thumb in the paste, put your hook in the middle, and then just wrap the paste around the hook. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't need to be a perfect ball, just wrap it around. Dip your paste in the water. By dipping it in the water, it helps clean your hands, but the main reason is it sort of seals the paste. That's what I think. It seals the paste. Then just dip my fingers in the water again to clean them off. Having a tub of water is really, really important. It just keeps everything clean, and like I say, if you dip the paste in the water, it sort of helps seal it. So I've just put that in. Now I have come just a little bit closer to me, because I want to show you how that float now is. If you look closely, the float isn't quite, I haven't got 2 centimetres of bristle. I've got all of the bristle showing. Now I can carry on fishing like that, but I just don't have a perfect sort of presentation of the float. But there's absolutely no reason why I can't continue fishing. I'm not going to move it. In fact, I've got a little bite there because the float's just so bob about. But when that paste has come off, the float's actually just going to start to rise up, and it'll just lie flat on the surface. So I'm just going to carry on fishing this paste out on this one, and then when I put back in, I'm going to move out by another 2 centimetres, and you'll see how the float cocks nicely with 2 centimetres of bristle showing. But like I say, that was a proper bite. Missed that. I was actually looking away and talking at the same time, but caught it out the corner of my eye. So that was really instant, so quick. I mean, we've only been fishing a couple of minutes there at the most. So again, piece of paste, size of 50 pence piece, I will put in the description of the video a link to a video that I created of making a pace rig. I'll put a link in the description, so if you want to see what the pace rig, how I actually make the line, the float, how I put it all together, there will be a link in the description for that. So this time I'm just going to push out just a little bit further, and now bring the float back over the top, and this time, there we go, the float, instant bite. As soon as that hit the bottom, then little dink of the float. But the bristle's still not perfect for me. The wind's catching it as well. I'd like it just a little bit down, a little bit more. So I could just reduce the depth, but I am fishing a slope, and I've got to remember that. I'm on a slight slope. As you notice when I was plumbing up, there you go, the pace has come off. The float is now lying flat on the surface. That's an indication pace has come off. So I am going to take just probably a centimetre off the depth there. Just bring that float down. You have to keep playing with the depth. There's no, like I say, you can plumb up, but you just don't get a perfect bottom of the lake, the pool you're fishing, and you know it's quite a hard bottom there. There are some stones about, so when you're plumbing up and when you're going to notice where they are, but also when you're fishing, your pace is going to land on top of a stone, and therefore your float isn't always going to sit perfect. So just got to remember that. So I'm just going to push my end of my pole out a little bit further, pop that in, bring my float over the top. I've just took a centimetre off, so hopefully that'll just cock a little bit better. There we go. That's perfect now. So let's see if we can get another bite. That bite we had a minute or so ago, proper positive bite. So what you've got to remember when you're pace fishing is you'll get lots of little dinks of the float. Small fish come in, they attack the pace, and you're waiting for that real positive bite when it shoots under. So there you go, the pace has come off already. You've got to be mindful that pace fishing takes a lot of patience, and it's quite active. You're in and out a lot. Your pace is going to keep coming off. I've got my pace mix a little bit sloppy today. I just feel like that's certainly how I like to have my pace. I might need to firm it up a little bit if it keeps coming off, but normally when you're on the fish and you're getting plenty of bites, having it nice and sloppy is all right, because the fish are taking it really quick. But when you're waiting for the bites, sometimes you might want it a bit firmer, so it just stays on the hook a little bit quicker. But do seem to be plenty of small fish in the swim, because I'm getting lots of indications. But it's the big positive bite, float shooting under, that's the one you're going to strike at. See, the float is now just bobbing up and down. Probably a small roach, rudd, messing about with it, could even be skimmers. But we're going to wait for that real positive straight under, and that's when we strike. Okay, so dip your hands in the water, a bit of pace, about the size of 50p piece. Push your thumb in the middle, put your hook in the middle, wrap the paste around, and then dip the paste back in the water. Now what you'll notice, if you can see, I've got my pole pot probably about roughly 12 to 18 inches away from the end of my pole. The reason being is that if my pole pot was up here and closer to the end of the line, it's easier for it to get tangled. Keeping the pole pot away from the end means I've got this nice arc in my line there, which means that it won't get tangled. So if I move that right up to there, it's just that the hook length now is too close to the main line. So I'm just going to put that pot back on. Like I say, that's roughly about 18 inches away from the end of the pole. So always make sure you keep your pot at a distance away, a similar distance. As you can see, my line now is on the left hand side. So when I pot it in, I'm going to turn my pole over to the left and my paste comes out. Okay, so this time I'm also going to put in some hemp over the top. I'm just going to keep putting the feed in, so I have put in one big pot of hemp. It's possible that may have now been cleaned out, so from now on I'm just going to keep putting in a bit of hemp every time, or every couple of times I go back out. There we go, fish on. There we go, that's what we're after. That was a proper bite. I think it's a carp, but not as big as what you sometimes get. But that bite was a bit more positive. There we go. So that's what you get. It's actually an F1, that one. Wasn't even it's not a carp. Big F1, probably about £2. So that bite was a lot more positive. It was a proper bite, shooting straight under. There we go, another one. Missed that. So we're getting some proper bites now, which is good. Hopefully we're getting rid of the smaller fish. So every time I put in now, I am going to feed some hemp. Just want to keep getting that feed in, give them something to grub around them. So put the paste in, hits the bottom, and then the float just sort of cocks nicely there. There we go. That was a little jab of the float then. There we go, fish on. That was a little dink of the float. It wasn't even a proper bite. Interesting to see what this is. Not sure if it's a carp or another F1 maybe. They're ready to spawn, which is probably why we're getting lots of finicky bites. Not quite having it at the moment. I think a lot of venues at the moment are struggling with their fish spawning. I'm going to put some more hemp in that time. I'm going to load it up. Clearly getting some fish in the swim now. We're getting proper positive bites. Albeit, I mean, that wasn't a positive bite, but we have had some, so there's indications there's better fish in the swim. But that was a very finicky bite, that was. There we go, fish on. So as soon as the paste hit the bottom, almost took it instantly. So that was a proper bite. Float just shot under. I think we'll get this one in and we'll then make this our last fish. Come here. There we go. But hopefully, guys, this was just going to be a short video just to show you an alternative paste mix that I used, which was on a separate video, and then I just showed you in this video how to use paste, catching some F1s and we're catching some couple of carp as well. So I'm going to carry on fishing, but if you guys have liked this video, please do leave a like and subscribe. Please leave a comment, let me know how you fish pace, what type of ground bait you use to mix pace as well. But also don't forget to hit the notification button so you get notified next time I upload a video. So until next time guys, tight lines.